Hey YouTube, what is up? This is Max with d.c.watches, and today I have a very exciting video. At least planned. We'll see how it ends up going. I today am going to attempt to switch the Seiko Seiko 7S26 in my SKX 007 for a Seiko NH36. So without further ado, I'm going to get cracking. I'm not going to talk much during the video. I'm gonna kind of narrate afterwards what I did and kind of what's going on. But yeah, so I'm gonna roll the intro and then get started. So, just to kind of preface this whole endeavor, I pretty much have no idea what I'm doing. This is the first time I've ever tried anything like this with a serious outcome in mind. But here I'm taking the case back off of the watch, which is kind of the first thing that you need to do. And if you're wondering where all of these tools come from, it's kind of from various $10 to $15 packages on Amazon that I've accumulated over the years. I highly recommend them if you're looking into getting into watch modifications. They come with pretty much everything you need as long as you have screwdrivers, a movement holder, which is kind of optional, tweezers. I have a hand press there above the hand removers, but really screwdrivers, tweezers are really important. Here, there's a little lever right next to the crown that allows you to pull the crown out when it's depressed. So you just depress that lever, and then the crown pops right out. You just want to be careful, obviously, not to scratch the movement, dent the movement too much. A lot of people use a wooden toothpick here, but I used that little kind of punch tool thing because it sits well in the dimple that's on that lever. Here I'm just taking the movement out of the case, and I'm going to take the hands off as soon as that's over. So here what I'm doing is I put the crown back into the movement, and I pulled it out to the time setting position so that I can move the hands in a way that will make it easier to take the hands off of the movement. I didn't have any dial protectors. You can get those on Amazon, on eBay. So I just used a piece of plastic that I had lying around, and then I used the hand press or the hand removal tool, which came with one of the Amazon kits, to take the hands off. And here what I'm doing is I'm taking the dial off of the 7S26 movement, the original Seiko movement. There are little cutouts along the sides of the dial that you just kind of want to work your way around to make sure that you don't snap off the dial feet, because it is incredibly, I would say, actually impossible to replace the dial without dial dots if you break the dial feet off. So in doing that, you just want to be careful and work your way around the plastic movement holder when you are pulling the dial off of the movement. And here what I'm doing is replacing the day wheel on the, or getting ready rather to replace the day wheel on the NH36 movement. So to do that, you have to take the day wheel from the 7S26 movement, which requires removing a small C clip, which is what I'm using the tweezers here to do. You want to be very careful not to lose that C clip, because without it you cannot replace, or you cannot place the 7S26 day wheel onto the NH36 day wheel, the day wheel slot. And the reason you need to do that is because the NH36 day wheel slot is not lined up for the same window cutout that the Seiko SKX case and dial require. And what I'm doing here is taking the C-clip off of the NH36 movement, the new movement, to allow for the day wheel from the 7S26 movement to be placed onto this movement instead. This C-clip is less important because I did lose it, but it's okay because I had the other one from the 7S26 movement, which does fit fine and does work. But you do need to do this step. This is certainly the hardest step, next to maybe placing the hands. But you can see that I put the 7S26 day wheel onto the NH36 movement, just to ensure that the alignment will be correct when I replace the dials. And what I'm doing here is I'm placing the new C-clip on the NH36 movement and just ensuring that when I turn the crown in the day-date setting, that the day and date wheel advanced as they're supposed to. I also check to make sure that they roll over while I am switching the time. And here what I'm doing is I'm removing the plastic ring, the plastic movement ring from the movement and replacing that movement ring with the 7S26 movement ring. And the reason you need to do that is because with the gray plastic movement ring, the one that comes on the NH36, the NH36 movement will not actually fit in the SKX case. So you do need the black movement ring, the movement holder from the SKX, so that you can ensure a normal fit of the movement while inside the SKX case. And what I'm doing here is just putting the dial back on. There are holes where the dial feet fit into the movement ring, and that's all I'm doing here. And now I'm just aligning the hands, which takes a little bit of practice. I have tried to do this before and failed on the SKX, and I've done it before on a Seiko 5. So I'm just making sure that when the hour hand hits midnight, the day wheel rolls over. And then after this, you'll see me ensure that the minute hand aligns when the hour hand is lined up to the hours. And here I just wanted to make sure the second hand was properly attached to the center pinion, so that when I moved back into the winding position, the second hand would start and would stop as usual. And here what I'm doing is I'm kind of making sure that the second hand, the minute hand, and the hour hand all clear each other as they traverse the dial. Otherwise, the watch isn't going to tell time correctly because your hands will be running into each other. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is that you also want to make sure that the hour hand doesn't drag along the dial, because it will either scratch the dial or impede the watch's timekeeping ability. And what I'm doing here is just ensuring that there's not any dirt on the outside of the case, and actually putting the movement back in the case, making sure that all of the hands line up, the crown sits well in the crown tube, the watch can wind, hack, the day and date function properly, the timekeeping functions properly, the hands are all in alignment, not interfering with each other. And yeah, and if I can do it, honestly, you can. It is not nearly as hard as some people would have you believe. Now you just throw the case back on, tighten it up, and you're ready to go. Alright guys, so that was slappy, that was ugly, but you know what, at the end of the day, it worked, and I now have a Seiko SKX that will, let's do this thing, hack, ha 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 ha, man, that is cool, and it will also hand wind. I don't know if you can hear that, but there you go. And so the crown is a Seiko signed crown, kind of like the old Sarb crowns. There's a screw down fit for the case, and yeah, there it is. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed watching me fumble around with this this watch for a little while. I know I personally had a blast getting to do it. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Until next video, peace.